Hey, Mike Zorns, also known as the Political Otter, coming to you from Ramsend Park in Toronto. We're starting to get all the lilac blooms right now. I love spring in this city. The news today is really fun. The Liberals just won another seat. What? So, this is one of those process heavy moments within the Canadian electoral system that does help ensure our system is safe, fair, and full of surprises. Did not see this one coming. This is probably going to go down in the history books as one of the most interesting seats in any election, in any campaign in Canadian history, because this seat has now officially switched over to the Liberals by one vote. Now, of course, the conspiracy theorists out there are trying to find ways to poke holes in this. And with most conspiracy theories, there's a lot of conjectures and a lot of half-truths that are coming out. So here's a quick video on the process that led to this so that you are informed on why this happened, how it happened, and yes, it is a feature of our system that happened from a very, very common thing. So first and foremost, you're going to have to pardon me. I need to consult some notes here to make sure I don't get these numbers wrong. The jurisdiction that we're talking about is Trébone in Quebec. So on election night, this was originally called for the Liberals and was one of the tightest races of the whole night. I think it was initially won by the Liberals by like 25 votes or less. Now, what happens after election night is all of the polls get validated. So this is how it all goes down. You have people working at the polling stations. They're counting the votes. Every ballot is going into a envelope that then goes back into the ballot box. There's a couple of different envelopes, and the first are the actual ballots that are all accepted. So these are, your regular ballot. You marked your X for whoever you voted for. It gets counted. It goes in the envelope, and it goes back in the box. Envelope number 2 are the rejected ballots. So a rejected ballot is something that somebody did not fill out correctly, and you basically have to be trying to have your ballot rejected. So, if you select a number 1 and a number 2, if you put your X in two circles on the ballot, if you scratch out one of the candidates' name and write Uncle Bob instead, those are the types of things that are going to lead to a rejected ballot. Those go into their own envelope. There's also spoiled ballots. These are very heavily misunderstood by most people. These are ballots that have things like a printing error on them, where the line didn't line up properly, so somebody's name has a strike going through it from the printer, something like that. None of those are, of course, counted towards the final result. They're all noted, they're all tracked, they're all put in their own envelopes, and then back into the box to be verified. What then happens is you have your returning officers who note everything that's happened here. So that breaks down into several different categories. And this is important because conspiracy theorists are only showing you 2 categories online, not all the categories. So let's quickly walk through what those are. So the first is number of ballots rejected, number of ballots spoiled, number of ballots unused, total number of ballots that were delivered to the polling station, total number of valid ballots broken down by each party and candidate, total number of rejected ballots, total number of valid ballots, and then, of course, total votes by the voters list. And sometimes there's a discrepancy or an error. And that's what happened in this riding during the validation process. There was a error, something that was different, written on the hey, here's what's actually in the box statement versus what had been reported on election night. So again, by like 20 or 30 some odd votes, the riding switched over to the bloc, and the Liberals dropped down to 169 seats. So, when the margin of error is this close and this small, this automatically triggers what we call a judicial recount. So this means a judge from the province that the riding is in is going to step in and supervise and oversee a recounting of all of the ballots. What happened in this case is there was roughly, I believe, 74 ballots, maybe 75, I forget the number, 70-something ballots that had initially been rejected, that the judge ruled were valid, where you could clearly understand what the voter had marked. Everything's counted by hand within Canada. You know, human error happens. This does occasionally happen. Usually 74 would not be enough to swing the needle any direction, but you know, in a riding where we're talking about being won by less than 20 votes, it made a difference. Every party gained some votes on this. The Bloc, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Conservatives all gained votes because of this. But the final result, based on the ballots that the judge determined, should not have initially been marked as rejected. The seat flipped. There were suddenly more Liberal votes than Bloc votes, and we suddenly have 170 seats for the Liberals in the House of Commons. So the numbers here are really interesting because, again, this is one of the tightest races of any election in Canadian history, this particular riding. So we definitely want to watch it really closely, and it's going to be fun to see when all of the numbers from the validation and the judicial recount are all posted online, which I think happens in the next 24 hours here or so. But if you're, looking at the conspiracy theorists or anybody else out there who are suddenly talking about liberal meddling or anything like that, it's just not the case. This is one fair and square closest win of all time in Canadian history. But this is the third time that this seat has flipped in this election because it's the closest ever. The system works. Just not the result the conspiracy theorists want.